The first spark of the legend flickered on a humid dawn when the sun rose dull and red over the city landfill, turning broken bottles into blood-colored mirrors and casting the mountains of trash in a copper glow. Out of that metallic haze padded a lone golden dog, ribs like vaulted arches under a fading pelt, paws cracked from months of scavenging, eyes bright with an optimism that had somehow refused to die. He was nosing through a collapsed cardboard box when the sound reached him. Half mule, half squeak, impossibly tiny, yet drilling straight into his marrow. He froze. The odorous wind shifted, carrying that cry again, weaker this time. Instinct tugged hard, hunger tugged harder, but something deeper, a relic gene older than memory, won the argument. He followed the sound until he found them. 5 newborn kittens, pink noses twitching, umbilical cords still raw. Their mother lay motionless beside a smashed microwave, her fur matted with engine oil, her flank already stiff. The dog pressed his snout to her nostril, waited, pulled back. No breath. He stood guard as the sun climbed. All morning he barked himself hoarse at circling rats, nudged the kittens into the bend of his belly for shade, and licked their crusted eyes clean. By noon the sky was a hot anvil, yet he stayed glued to that spot, a golden parapet against despair. Though he produced no milk, the mere vibration of his chest as he hummed low comfort seemed to trick the kitten's instinct. They rooted against his fur, found nothing, but settled anyway, lulled by the steady metronome of his heart. And so a silent pact formed amid rotting plastic and sun-bleached paint cans. The landfill would not be their tomb, not while he breathed.
Night dropped like a blackout curtain, bringing a choir of mosquitoes and the sour stench of fermenting fruit. Hunger clawed the dog's insides, yet each time he stepped away to scavenge, he felt phantom needles in his flank, imagined claws of predators closing on the little ones. He returned within minutes, always. At dawn, with the kittens whimpering louder, he made his boldest gamble yet. He trotted out of the landfill and onto the 6-lane road, wove through honking scooters and tuk-tuks, and raided a street-side market. He didn't steal meat, he stole milk. A sachet burst between his teeth, drenching his muzzle. He bolted back, leaving chaos and curses behind. At the trash pile, he dribbled the warm liquid onto a broken spoon, nudging it toward the tiniest kitten. The others caught the scent, and soon each fragile mouth was smacking at drips of lifeline. For the next week, he repeated that heist daily, sometimes swapping milk for rice porridge, sometimes returning bruised by broom handles, but always returning. Flies swarmed, monsoon clouds gathered, yet the kittens fattened. Their eyes opened into icy slits that watched him with unfiltered wonder, branding him forever as something holy. In stolen moments, the dog let himself nap, and in those naps, he dreamed of grassy hills and a river that tasted of forever. But he always woke to the landfill, to the now, to duty. Responsibility had replaced hunger as the loudest voice in his gut. Word of the trash pile shepherd spread when a teenager cycler filmed the scene on her cracked phone and posted it online. By sunset, the clip ricocheted across feeds in Phnom Penh, then Bangkok, then continents away. Comments swelled, crying face emojis, offers of adoption, cynical claims of fakery, angry vows to rescue them at once. The landfill gate clogged with reporters holding fuzzy microphones beside expensive hair, each wanting the perfect tearjerker package. Yet whenever strangers approached, the golden dog bared his teeth, not viciously, but with the raw panic of a soldier who's seen too many friends fall. The kittens huddled behind him like soft bullets of fear. Eventually, kindness cut through the noise. A grizzled waste picker named Bopa, herself half feral from years of night shifts, crouched low, murmured in Khmer, and slid a tin plate of sardines forward. The dog sniffed, glanced at his brood, and decided this woman was allowed 5 steps closer, no more. Bopa understood boundaries. She left water, kibble, and a threadbare blanket. Each day she inched nearer, speaking softly about a childhood dog she'd lost in the floods, letting her sorrow braid with his duty. Trust bloomed like moss on a shaded wall, slow, unnoticed, but unstoppable once anchored. By week's end, the dog accepted head scratches. By week's end, the internet moved on to new headlines. Yet the true story, the quiet knitting of two battered souls over 5 kittens, had only just begun.
Monsoon season broke with theatrical cruelty. Sheets of rain hammered the landfill, turning refuse hills into landslides of sludge. Lightning cracked open the sky, spraying cobalt light over rusted metal. Bofa arrived soaked, her poncho ripped, yelling the dog's name. She had started calling him Soka, Khmer for peace. She found him standing chest-deep in rising muck, kittens balanced on a wobbling refrigerator door like shipwreck survivors. Without thinking, she plunged in, grabbed the door, and together they hauled the precious cargo to higher ground. The smallest kitten, the cream-colored runt, wasn't breathing. Soka nudged the limp body, whining in a pitch no language could ease. Bofa performed clumsy CPR, 2 fingers pressing tiny ribs, a puff of breath, and after 6 tries the kitten coughed, spat rainwater, and wailed indignantly. That sound lit a fuse in Soka's eyes. Relief detonated into pure, tail-wagging joy. They spent the storm huddled inside an abandoned traffic control booth. Kittens burrowed into the blanket while thunder drummed on the metal roof. Bofa shared her only meal, sticky rice and salted fish. Soka, who once would have inhaled the fish whole, now let the kittens eat first, licking crumbs from their whiskers after. Outside, rivers of garbage flowed, erasing old paths, yet inside that booth, a new map was being drawn, one that charted from loneliness to alliance.
When the water finally receded, municipal officials declared the landfill unsafe and slapped eviction notices on every shack and sorting stall. Bulldozers lurked like yellow predators at the edge, engines idling. Bofa packed her few belongings, 2 sarongs, a tin radio, a photo of her flood-lost dog, and faced a brutal calculus. Shelters rarely accept animals, let alone 1 dog and 5 half-feral kittens. As workers in reflective vests advanced, Soka sensed the tension, planting himself between them and the kittens. A foreman raised a boot to shoo him. Soka growled low, a warning that suggested granite beneath gold fur. Bofa stepped in front, voice trembling, yet firm. She was ignored. Then a small miracle. The teenage recycler, the first to film them, arrived with 2 men from an animal welfare NGO. Papers were shown, calls were made, and within an hour, the unlikely family was loaded into a rusty van bound for a converted warehouse shelter on the city outskirts. Inside the van, kittens dozed in a laundry basket, unaware of bureaucratic dramas. Soka rested his chin on Bofa's knee, eyes dim with exhaustion but still scanning every shadow. For him, safety had never been a place, it was vigilance. Yet as the city blurred past, carrying them toward unknown tomorrows, a thought glimmered. Perhaps safety could also be softer beds, fuller bowls, hands that smelled of soap instead of landfill rot. Perhaps.
The shelter thrummed with chaotic hope. Puppies yapped, cats hissed, volunteers shouted instructions over the whir of industrial fans. A veterinarian sedated Suka long enough to patch infected scratches and vaccinate him. He awoke groggy, alarmed to find his brood missing, but Bofa guided him to a recovery pen where the kittens tumbled across clean towels like fuzzy tumbleweeds. They'd been dewormed, bottle-fed, and renamed. Rama, Tara, Soria, Dara, and tiny Amarin, the rain-revived runt. For the first time, Suka napped without jerking awake every 10 minutes. Steel bars and disinfectant stench replaced the open sky, yet he sensed the perimeter was solid. Days blurred into a rhythm of feedings, vet checks, and cautious playtimes. Bofa took a part-time cleaning job at the shelter just to stay near them,
her mop gliding down hallways while her heart hovered in that pen. Each evening, she read aloud from a weather-stained Khmer folktale book.
Morning poured gold through the shelter skylights and found Soka standing sentinel as always, but something in the air felt lighter, almost fizzy, like carbonation in his lungs. The kittens, now clumsy adolescents, had discovered pouncing. One moment Tara launched at her own tail, the next Derry used Soka's drooping ear as a personal trapeze. Instead of flinching, he merely sighed, equal parts resignation and pride, while Bofa laughed so hard she dropped the clean towels she was folding. Yet beneath the sunshine lurked a new turbulence. Adoption day was approaching, and the shelter director made it clear that splitting the litter would increase their odds of finding homes. The suggestion cracked against Soka's heart like a hammer on porcelain. That night, he refused dinner and paced the pen's perimeter until his nails clicked raw against concrete. Bofa sat cross-legged in the dim corridor, knees drawn to chest, whisper thinking through every angle. She could not legally take 6 animals back to her cramped bedsit above the motorbike repair shop, and foster lists were already swamped. An impossible riddle stretched between them, woman and dog, eye-locking through wire mesh, each silently begging the other to conjure a miracle. At 2 a.m., the idea landed like a meteor. What if they made the story so dazzling that no one could bear to break the family apart? Viral once more, but on their terms. Bofa hurried to scribble a storyboard. Soka, sensing momentum, finally curled up to catch 2 hours of dream-punctured rest. Dawn would demand spectacle. Love was running out of loopholes.
Operation Unbreakable kicked off at sunrise 2 days later. Bofa borrowed a friend's DSLR, commandeered a fenced-off courtyard, and dressed it like a makeshift film set. Rainbow streamers, battered drums repurposed his climbing towers, and old tuk-tuk sidecar for dramatic reveals. Volunteers angled reflective boards to catch every droplet of kitten charisma, while Soka sat center stage in a thrift store crown. Gaudy, plastic, crooked, looking both regal and faintly embarrassed. Cue music from a Bluetooth speaker, cue 3 takes of the kittens racing over a plywood ramp into Soka's waiting paws, cue heart-melting slow-mo of Amarin nose-bumping his surrogate dad's snout. Between shots, Bofa narrated in Khmer and English. They survived the landfill, danced through a monsoon, crossed a city together. Now they refuse to be separated. Help us keep them whole. The final cut ran exactly 93 seconds, just long enough to hijack scroll-happy thumbs, yet short enough to loop in memory. When Bofa hit upload, the internet grabbed the video like dry grass meeting flame. Retweets carved highways into cyberspace. Comment threads braided strangers from Reykjavik to Rio, each competing to outgush the last. And then, plot twist, an elderly Cambodian-French couple living in Siem Reap slid into the shelter's inbox. They owned a riverside villa, 5 decades of fenced garden, and a retired life aching for purpose. All or nothing, they wrote. We adopt the entire constellation. Dog, crown, kittens, legend. Paperwork fired across servers, and within 48 hours, the family westward hoed in an air-conditioned SUV past rice paddies shimmering like green sequins toward a future so wide it felt borderless.
Siem Reap greeted them with incense breezes and the clack-clack of distant Apsara dancers practicing under temple eaves. The villa itself looked dreamboard unreal. Red tile roof, mango trees heavy with parakeets, a koi-filled pond bridged by a moon-shaped arch. The couple, Maeva and Luke, knelt to Soka's level, palms pressed together, offering the Khmer greeting Jun Reap Su with accents soft as velvet. Soka sniffed their hands, found no threat, and wagged a yes. The kittens erupted from the travel crate in 5 shooting star directions. Dara belly-flopped into tall lemongrass, Rama scaled a sandalwood bench, Amarin tried to intimidate a stoic koi with paw slaps on the pond's mirror. Maeva laughed until tears blurred the garden. Luke retrieved a weathered tennis ball and gently rolled it toward Soka, who paused, memory searching for the concept of play, then pounced with puppy-like abandon.
Over the next weeks, a new rhythm inked itself. Morning patrols alongside Luke, midday siestas sprawled across Maeva's sun-warmed veranda tiles, twilight treat hunts engineered by Bofa, who now lived in the villa's converted guest house as official caretaker/story archivist. She began drafting a children's book, The Golden Dog and the Trash Pile Kittens, illustrating it with watercolors that caught every whisker flick and tail wag nuance. Publishers answered her cold emails within hours. Apparently, miracles love company. The first royalty check encountered a unanimous, paw-padded vote: build a microclinic near the old landfill for street animals. Soka attended the groundbreaking ceremony wearing his plastic crown, flanked by 5 adolescent cats who behaved exactly long enough for photographers to snap the front page shot.
Years scrolled forward like banners in soft wind, and the legend only deepened its roots. The clinic treated 3,000 animals in its inaugural 12 months. A mural of Soka shielding newborn kittens from a storm sprawled across its facade, brightening the district like a lighthouse. School children on field trips pressed palms to the painted fur as if some courage might rub off. Inside the villa, the family constellation matured. Rama grew into a sleek, strategy-minded huntress who organized nocturnal patrols against gecko insurgents. Tara perfected the art of lap monopolizing meditation. Surya commandeered Luke's pottery shed and took to sleeping in coils of still-warm clay. Dara, ever social, drafted birds into awkward friendship contracts. And Amaran, smallest but fiercest, became Soka's shadow, mirroring his gait so perfectly that passers-by swore they saw a double-exposure ghost. As for Soka, silver threaded his muzzle, yet the gold of his spirit never dulled. Some evenings he lay beside Maeva's rocking chair, eyes half closed, tail thudding quietly while she hummed lullabies of a Paris childhood. In those moments, he was both the dog who once foraged broken food under buzzard skies and the patriarch of a dynasty built on impossible odds. The word trash had long been exiled from their story, replaced by origin, because origin, unlike trash, is a place you can honor without shame. And so, whenever monsoon clouds massed on the horizon, Soka would shepherd his cats onto the veranda, nose-nudge them to watch the lightning show, and, if one listened closely, let slip a rumble deep in his chest. Not quite a growl, not quite a purr, but something new the universe had to invent just to name the sound of love that refuses to quit.